You ever try to do the right thing and it just completely backfires? You have the best of intentions, but somehow you end up looking like the bad guy. Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. This quiet, really tough challenge of how to stick to your principles when it feels like the whole world is watching and, getting it completely wrong.
So our story kicks off with a guy named Roger. He decides to take a quiet, principled stand on a street corner. Nothing flashy, no big speech, no audience, just him doing something he believes in. But you know how it is these days. Of course, somebody was filming. And just like that, his quiet act gets yanked out of context, it goes viral, and the whole story gets twisted into this spectacle of public outrage.
And that really brings us to the big question here, a feeling I think a lot of us can relate to. Why? Why does trying to do something good get so easily warped and misunderstood in this digital age? Okay, so the next morning, Roger's phone is just blowing up. His nephew calls, asking if he's seen the video. And even before he watches, Roger feels that knot in his stomach. He just knows the story isn't his anymore. So the video that's going around tells a very particular story, right? There's no before to explain why he was even there. There's no after to show how things resolved. All anyone sees is a quick clip of a harsh-looking officer, a man who looks humiliated, and, of course, a comment section filled with people who are either super angry or completely certain they know exactly what happened.
And this is where the doubt really creeps in for him. He asks this question that's just eating him up inside. After all that, did us standing there actually change anything? Or did it just stir up more anger and noise?
Now this is where his uncle steps in with some wisdom that totally shifts the whole perspective. Instead of getting bogged down in the viral mess, his uncle points to the real root of the problem. Let's see how he breaks it down.
And here it is, the big disconnect. On one side, you have the whole story. You've got the full context, the principled stand, this quiet intervention. But on the other side, you've got the viral videos version, zero context, just a harsh moment, and what looks like public humiliation. I mean, they're two totally different realities.
The uncle explains it like this. The very act of putting goodness on display is what shatters its meaning. A viral video needs to be simple, black and white. But real goodness, it's often complicated, and the very first casualty online is always context.
So if arguing in the comments section isn't the answer, then what is? Well, the uncle suggests a totally different approach. It's not about a single reaction. It's about a long-term practice. He calls it the habit of civilization.
And here's the advice that kind of goes against every instinct. Your first impulse is to jump in, correct the record, defend yourself, right? But the uncle says some battles aren't won with words. They're won by just showing up, again and again. They're won with consistency. This completely reframes the whole idea. So civilization isn't about one heroic moment that everyone understands perfectly. It's a habit. It's the small, repeated, and often totally unnoticed practice of just sticking to your principles.
So how do you actually build this habit? Well, it starts with standing up for something once. Then you will inevitably face misunderstanding. The trick is not to back down, but to stand in that same place for that same principle again and again. That's how the habit gets built.
But let's be real for a second. This path sounds exhausting, doesn't it? And the story's honest about that. Trying to build this habit while constantly being misunderstood, it takes a serious emotional toll.
A few days later, Roger admits it. And man, is this relatable. He just says, I'm tired. All that constant carefulness, that feeling that everything you do is either invisible or just plain wrong, it just grinds you down.
And this one cuts even deeper. It's not just about one silly video anymore. Roger starts questioning the whole point. If this is so tiring and no one gets it, what does it actually change?
And now, we get right to the heart of the matter. The uncle's answer reveals the core insight of this whole story. It's this crucial difference between two very, very different motivations.
Wow, this is such a powerful way to look at it. The uncle reminds Roger, hey, the goal was never some external result. It wasn't for a thank you, and it definitely wasn't for a heroic viral video. The real goal was internal, to act in a way that lets you remain human. And this just clarifies where all that exhaustion comes from. See, the work of being good, of actually chipping away at a problem, that's hard, yeah, but it can be fulfilling. It's the work of trying to appear good, of chasing validation and likes, that really just drains your soul. That's what exhausts you. So with that realization, everything starts to shift for Roger. The battle moves away from the public stage of social media and into the quiet space of his own conscience.
And here's his final decision. He's going to let go of the need to perform his principles for an audience. He decides he'll stop sharing what he's doing, but he will not stop doing it.
And I think that's the big takeaway here. A moral life isn't some destination you arrive at. It's a path you have to choose over and over again in those quiet moments inside yourself, whether anyone is watching or not.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. In your own life, when you feel that fatigue from trying to do the right thing, take a second and ask, what am I really trying to sustain here? My principles or my image? Because the answer to that question, well, it makes all the difference.